Greetings and salutations. I'm here with my review of The Last of Us Season 2 finale. That's Episode 7. Once more, my background is I played the first game, watched the first season of the show, but had not played the second game, though there are some things I was spoiled on because they're just out there on the internet to be spoiled by. Once more, spoiler warning, so if you haven't seen it, I'm about to talk about it. I thought this was a really good episode of what's been a really good season. I had wondered, knowing structurally that they are going to take the game and turn it into, sounds like 3 seasons now. We just had Neil Druckmann talking about how they need a season 4 to kind of wrap up their story properly. If we're only getting 1/3 of the game, basically, would this feel like a proper season finale and even like a proper season in totality? Not quite, I'd say. I'd say that the way this season ended felt a little bit like, okay, ... more than a definitive, here's our big finale. Because does anyone really think Ellie just got shot, fatally shot, off camera? Of course not. So that cliffhanger isn't like a real cliffhanger. This is a show where if they're going to kill someone, we're going to see it happen. And then the way it really ends with this glimpse of what's going on with Abby in those 3 days prior, the 3 days we've been in Seattle, and the tease that we're going to now see her perspective. Now that's interesting to me, but also it does make it feel incomplete. And it does make me wish that the next season were a few months away versus whenever we see it. Maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years. The way these shows work these days, you never know. They have not begun production on the next season. So honestly, I doubt if we get it within a year of this season. It's probably at the best going to be the latter half of 2026. And so, yeah, it doesn't feel like quite the huge, oh my god moment to hold us off for another season. I wish we were getting it sooner. But I am intrigued. I am still really liking this show. Just this episode, was really well done. And the storytelling on this show, I think, is really strong. I had heard people speculate, fans of the games, would the next season be sort of the Abby season, knowing that in the second game we play from her perspective in certain parts and that it would make sense. And certainly that is an interesting element. I cannot believe that they'll do the next season with Ellie barely in it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is how they do it. But I feel like there's got to be something different where either we catch up pretty quickly or there's some sort of intercutting so that it's not just Abby and the Wolves and their story. I think that there's got to be more around that. But I'm also excited that we're going to get more Caitlin Dever. She was a guest star this season who popped up here and there, obviously in a very pivotal way. I'm guessing she'll be promoted to series regular next time out. But even in that scene at the end, the showdown with Ellie, I mean, you see what a great actress she is. And there is so much happening in that scene as far as Ellie trying to tell her what she's learned and that Tommy's not responsible for her friend's death. And Abby trying to process all this while also, that these two women, the sort of yin-yang of these two women and the fact that they're both fueled by all this vengeance that is sort of this never-ending spiral they're stuck in. I do think that's very strong and compelling. The death of Jesse, I've not mixed feelings about. Mostly, I wish that they had given Jesse the great material he has in this episode earlier in the season, because this is a great episode for young Mazzino. We really get to see Jesse, like, more about him, and he has some really excellent scenes with Ellie, and really kind of gets to, show where he's coming from and everything about him learning about the baby and the fact that that gives him new motivations and sort of him making these declarations about, let's skip the apologies so I can get us and my kid the F out of Seattle. That stuff was all excellent. I thought it was so well played with how he is processing what he is learning here and the drive that gives him. I don't love the thing in TV of the peripheral or side character who suddenly gets like a really good spotlight episode being the episode where they die. It's actually very reality TV. I watch, Survivor all the time. And if there's like a contestant who hasn't been featured a lot and suddenly they get a lot of screen time in an episode, it's like, is this the one where they're going home? That's what it felt like with Jesse here. So maybe I wish there had been a way to parse that out earlier. Obviously, the story keeps him separate from them for a lot of it while they're in Seattle, but it just felt like that funny thing of like, oh, Jesse's really getting a lot of screen time here and we're getting to know him. it just to make his death worse, but in the same episode. I kind of wish they'd separated that. But I do admire, he's just shot running through that door, and there's something about that, about the he doesn't get a romantic death, which is to say a big sort of moment of his death. Even Joel, which is obviously the most horrific, agonizing, long, torturous death, but it still is sort of, when I say romantic death, not like romance, but a big, epic on-screen death. Sometimes there's some power to just taking out a character in the way that Jesse's taken out. It reminded me of death on the very late, great Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, where a pretty notable character just gets suddenly shot. And it's just like, this is the lives these characters are leading. And he ran through the door trying to help his friend, and that was his last moment. But yeah, there was a lot of good material in this episode. I thought the beginning where we have Dena and Ellie talking about what happened with Nora, I thought was great as far as how loaded it was, because Dena's trying to be supportive of Ellie's revenge mission and saying, well, maybe she deserved it, but you can even see the doubt, even as she's saying that. The doubt about hearing that Ellie, tortured this woman who was already in a horrific transformation into one of the infected at this point. She doesn't really buy what she's saying. And then the idea that when Ellie now reveals the full truth about what Joel did, why he did it, the impact that has on everyone, because there could have been a cure. That changes things, because suddenly Dena says, let's go home. It doesn't mean she now hates Ellie or thinks that, Ellie shouldn't be alive, I think, but it makes it complicated. Certainly makes it complicated. And that rung true, I thought, the way that she's trying to process that in the moment about someone that, she loves, but now is learning, I guess everyone could have been saved if Joel hadn't done that. And of course, all that, really getting the understanding of where Abby is coming from, because we heard Dena's story about wanting revenge for her own mom and sister. But yeah, Abby has her own great story too about what's going on here. And yeah, it's just seeing that Ellie knows this is messed up. And we already, established that earlier this season, I understand, but it's like really sort of seeing here, the further she goes through it, she's on an autopilot she can't turn off, because she knows that this is a sort of terrible thing she's doing, and that it's sort of nihilistic at this point, and getting her revenge, what will that really do? But she's like, she's tunnel visioned. So even the more evidence she gets about this is awful, we're all stuck in an awful cycle, I am doing terrible things along the way, but she's just like, no, I have to go get revenge. I have to sort of complete the mission. And I do kind of like the messed up sort of video game angle of that. This is based on a game. It's like, I have to complete my mission in the game, but then there's almost like the meta aspect of like, but isn't that mission kind of a messed up one? And of course, that all comes to the forefront when she has that confrontation with Owen and Mel, two more of Abby's friends. And it's funny, I thought those characters, we'd see them more based on how we're introduced to like the group of them, and they kind of all are dying one by one as Ellie is encountering them. But I think that the show is underlining, this is all messed up, that this is a terrible situation. And what happens when she accidentally shoots Mel, when she goes to shoot Owen, and that reveal that she is very pregnant, near, time to give birth. It's such a wrenching scene. I thought it was so effective and so well played by Bella Ramsey, but also Ariella Berrar, who I know from Runaways, as she is trying to instruct her, the woman who just killed her, with her moments left to live, how to give her a C-section to save her baby. And the fact that it doesn't happen, that Ellie freezes up. And I don't think this is a moment of malice. I don't think this is a, I can't do this because I hate you, because you can see the panic in Ellie's face that she wants to save this baby. She feels awful, but also she's so afraid of doing anything, of messing up. She kind of just shuts down in that moment, and then it's too late, and Mel is dead, and the baby is going to be lost now. That was a sucker punch. That was just awful, beautifully awful as far as storytelling, as far as the situation these characters in, and this sort of cycle they're in, and wanting them to get out of this cycle because of the toll it's taking on innocent people. We don't know Mel's life. Maybe she isn't completely innocent, but that baby was. And the toll is taking on Ellie as she's sort of going on this quest for revenge. And knowing that she's doing these awful things along the way, and this baby being a huge symbol now of that. We got these glimpses of the wolves going to, well, they're already at war with the Scars, but this all-out attack we're going to get more of that the next season. When Ellie's in the boat and we're seeing the explosions behind her, clearly we're going to see more of that attack, I think, next season as we get the Abby and the wolves perspective. Once more, I do hope the Scars next season we get more fleshing out, because they remain just weirdos in the woods. They were going to hang Ellie when they found her, but we don't really know much more about them except their sort of fanaticism. On the wolf side, though, we see they're awful. I mean, when they capture that kid from the Scars, they immediately strip him naked. We know that's not just a one-off thing that we saw Isaac doing. His strip you naked and torture method, apparently that's just their MO. So that's terrible. But we, again, still get to know the wolves more at this point. We already know them more. We're seeing their perspective. We're seeing a sense of humor. And, Isaac gets to have that fun line about just because we have a cool name doesn't mean we're invincible. His thought that they are going to probably die, most of them, in this all-out attack, and that Abby's important because she is sort of the person he saw leading the military next. So, yeah, I just feel like we know them a lot more, and hopefully that can change next season for the Scars too. And we just need someone to kind of step up from the Scars and be a more significant character, because right now we just see them lurking about in the woods. But yeah, I thought this episode, again, sort of solidified what a well-crafted show this is. Visually, just sort of the tone of it, the feel of it. There's all this stuff here at night in a raging Seattle storm at sea, and Ellie in that boat trying to get to the aquarium to get to Abby, and the waves crashing at her and knocking out of the boat, and the visuals of seeing a bunch of boats with the wolves arriving to go to battle against the Scars. It all looks great. It looks very impressive, very cinematic. I just think that this show has got a great sort of sense of tone and feel, and always really immerses you in its world. So yeah, when I look at this entire season, it does feel incomplete, which is to say, yes, clearly the story isn't over, but it just doesn't feel like a complete season of TV. I think you do feel the fact that it's taking part of a larger story of one game. But I do think week to week, when you look at these episodes, they're just very well made. And I think these characters are very well crafted and very emotional. And I feel really connected to them. Most of all, of course, the people, Ellie and Dena and Tommy. And then we started to get to know Jesse when he was killed. I really like the glimpses we've been getting of the wolves. I'd love even more with them. That is clearly coming next season because of where we leave off with Abby. I just hope we get there with the Scars as well. I'm pretty hopeful we will. So those are my thoughts on the season finale of The Last of Us. It, really feels like season 2.1, or, however you want to label it, because there's going to be more. But I really hope we don't have to wait that long for season 3. To sort of loop us back on this story and see the Abby side, and then I'm curious when they catch up to where we left off, how that will all work, because yeah, we're really getting this idea of these two very damaged women and what has fueled them, and the loss of both of their father figures, and how now they're just killing everyone in this quest for revenge. I didn't know, so I should mention I'd been spoiled on Jesse's death. Again, random internet stuff. I can't remember where someone just mentioned it, threw it out in some random comment. I had no idea that Abby killed him, and so I was like, whoa, Abby kills another important character. Obviously nowhere near as important as Joel, but still someone of a lot of significance to the core characters on this series. So even more reason for Ellie to hate her, even as we start to see, even in the back of their minds, this understanding of that they already have about where the other person is coming from, but the fact that they can't shut down the "I must kill you," even if I do understand, even if we are two sides of the same coin, this is what we have to do. And yeah, I want to see how this all plays out one day, eventually. All right, guys, if you can like and subscribe, that would be great. I'll be back with more, well, maybe not in The Last of Us that quickly, but with other stuff soon. Take care.